I've just been bad at Instagram, but I'm trying to get better because I would like to be regularly uploading and updating that Instagram for you guys for the podcast and have like a podcast-centric Instagram, or also to recruit people for the podcast for coming on as recruit. That makes it sound like it's a cult. Is this podcast a cult? Be honest. That's it. That's my intro. Hi, and welcome back to the Swell Shenanigans podcast. I'm your host, Amanda, but you can call me Swell. Here on the Swell Shenanigans podcast, I like covering really whatever I want, but I really like all things pop culture, social media, and shenanigans. And today we are having another solo Swell episode because, frankly, I have been so busy with NaNoWriMo and birthday stuff and this dumb cough that will not go away. I'm finally seeing a doctor the day after I'm recording this, but it won't go away. And I just don't have time to, one, track down a guest, and two, again, I don't want to put them through my gross cough. It's not pleasant. William already editing this podcast and cutting out my coughing is already too much for me to handle. So I don't want to put a stranger through it. That's why we're getting another solo Swell episode. This is just going to be a little short listener episode like I did with Amanda's old birds aren't real message. I'm going to be reading some more of the send-ins from listeners, as well as playing some more messages. We got 2 more since Amanda has come on, because you guys are now learning that I will play your audio messages. And we got 2 emails, one of which is from Mike, from the Mike, and Oscar. It's his brother. He sent it in. He's like, I just found out that my brother is apparently a fan of your podcast. So shout out to Mike's brother. I'm going to pull up your name right now, actually. Hold on. Dave, thank you for being a fan of the podcast and for reminding your brother Mike that I am the more successful little sister of that podcast. Thank you. As always, be sure to check us out on all of our other stuff. We now have a Swell Shenanigans Instagram that I've been bad at Instagram. It's not like it's just a new thing for the Swell Shenanigans Instagram. I've just been bad at Instagram, but I'm trying to get better because I would like to be regularly uploading and updating that Instagram for you guys for the podcast and have like a podcast-centric Instagram. So it's like little updates and story updates and things like that of like little shenanigans that I potentially am not going to be able to make into a full podcast, or also to recruit people for the podcast for coming on as recruit. That makes it sound like it's a cult. Is this podcast a cult? Be honest. But yeah, the Instagram is being set up now. And a reminder, my plushie is going away, the Swell plushie, which is connected to the Swell Entertainment YouTube channel. By the time this episode is out, I believe there will only be 2 days left in the campaign. If you want one, please get one, because as soon as they're gone, they're gone. We have to sell at least 200. I think we're at 81. We're a little behind. So if you would like to get your own plushie, it's super cute. It's got the green couch. You guys really see the green couch more than the YouTube channel does, frankly. Here is the couch with little Swell. Audio listeners, get wrecked. It's little me with my intro glasses and all of that. She's super cute. She's super fun. She is available through Makeship. They've been great and very supportive in me selling my plushies. So please go ahead and get your plushie now. They're super reasonable and they all get shipped out in February. Please get your own, because whatever doesn't get sold, I will be buying the rest because we have to sell at least 200 for them to even go into production. And we are currently at 81 at the time of me recording this. So if you would like a plushie, go get one. Once they're gone, they're gone. And I am making sure that they're selling out. So I will be the one buying them all. I will be my own biggest fan, because who's going to be my biggest fan if not myself? You know, I can be my biggest critic every day of the year. Okay. But when there's a plushie involved, I'm going to be, you know what? Buying my own plushie. I don't care. I'll do it. So, but also I would like to not go broke buying my own plushie. So if you guys would like to get one for yourself, go right ahead. Anyway, I'm currently filming in my desk setup where I usually film my YouTube videos and recording this there because the time change is doing some fun stuff to the heat and the lighting in my apartment. At the time of me recording this, it is currently 90 degrees in LA. For those of you who don't know, I was just in Flagstaff for a couple of days. The high was 60. The average was like 49, 50. It was wonderful. I got to wear sweaters. I got to wear a jacket everywhere I went. It was wonderful. It was so nice. The air was clear and crisp. It wasn't smogged down. It was wonderful. And now it's just boiling here. At least I'm here with Hermes. Hermes is here with me. And that's all that matters. I just realized that my microphone is in the shot. It's going to stay there. Anyway, let's go ahead and start reading some of these Swell Shenanigans stories. So again, you guys can send these into the Swell Shenanigans podcast at Gmail. Email if you guys want to send in your shenanigans, Or hell, send in your friend shenanigans. I would really like to start making these like listener focused episodes more of a consistent thing versus doing them at like the very end of some of the guest episodes, because I find that I often forget with a guest, because we're usually talking about so much, that I forget the listener story section. So I really want to start doing this and then potentially bringing on people to like just do these listener stories with me versus doing them kind of like tucked in at the end of the regular episode. So we're going to get this all figured out, but I'm going to start doing the emails first, and then we'll kind of switch back and forth between the emails and the audio messages, because we got 2 emails and 2 audio messages, so it's going to work. It's going to be Gucci. It's going to be great. Let's start with this one from Zeke. The tagline is, the only shenanigan I have that isn't illegal to admit, in parentheses, allegedly. I like that. Hello, my name is Zeke. I'm from Camden, New Jersey, where I've been jumped by 14 people at once at 8 years old, but that's for context, never pity, and that's on PTSD. In 8th grade, I had to apply to a high school, and I chose the one art school in the city. Yes, very main character of me. My confidence didn't decide to nosedive until the weekends back in those days. So boom, I go in for my interview. I'm dressed like a used car salesman who doesn't scam you, but teaches you a life lesson on how looks are deceiving as I woo you with my charm despite looking like a dark-skinned Incredible Hulk. I'd say Professor Hulk, but we've been over this. I have PTSD, not a PhD. Oh, that's good. Oh, wait. Okay, Zeke, you're making merch that says I have PTSD, not a PhD. That needs to be a thing now. That's good. That's a bio. That's an Instagram bio right there. Finally, it's my turn to be interviewed. The way I have these 2 people in the palm of my hand, you'd think I was Michael Jackson in his prime. But unlike Mike, the only one screaming is me internally, as I realize I just called a former teacher of mine a dickhead out of absolutely nowhere. Oh gosh. Then didn't continue speaking, so the silence is awkward and thick. Ironically, the type of woman my future girlfriend would be. Side note, my girlfriend loved her Swellentine, Amanda. Thank you, but I digress. For those of you who don't know, I did a Swellentine's Day back in February for Valentine's Day, where you could send in your messages and I would read you a Swellentine for you, and you could send it to people. It was really dramatic, and I had fun doing it. But I digress. Right now, the only thing swelling is the lump in my throat, as I think I've just fucked up my chance. However, I double down, knowing that even if I get my application tossed in the trash bin, I would have earned such a thing in glorious fashion. I have no other choices for school left by then. It was do or fucking die, and I did it like nobody else could have. I got accepted and became a creative writing major, and thus ends my long story of the one shenanigan I can share that isn't illegal to admit to, allegedly. Zeke, I love it. That's fun. See, I think that's okay. The amount of times that I've been exactly where you're going, where you're so into the conversation, you are vibing, okay? Everything is going perfect in your head. You are having a main character moment. You have total control. And then all of a sudden your brain is going faster than your mouth is, and suddenly you are saying the word dickhead, and it's like, oh, okay. You know, like you say the one thing and you just hyperfixate, and you can either double down and just keep going, or you can like suffocate to the awkwardness. I'm annoying and I have anxiety, so I often suffocate to the awkwardness. But I applaud you for doubling down, and you got accepted, so that's awesome. So that's great for you. I'm glad your girlfriend liked her Swellentine. Thank you so much for sending in your shenanigans, and thank you for being a fan of the Swell Entertainment channel as well as Swell Shenanigans. Thank you for that. If you ever do want to send in one of your more legal ones, you can send them in anonymously. I'm not against people sending in shenanigans anonymously, and I will just make assumptions about who you are based on the stories. I like that. Okay, so that's one. Let's do another one. Let's see. Okay, so this one is titled Shenanigans by Connor.
Hi, Amanda. My name is Connor, and my shenanigan was that when I worked at a certain coffee chain, I was making this person's drink, and I had remade it like 2 or 3 times, and at a certain point, you're like, I just want this person to leave. And right as I had put the whipped cream on top, I saw like one of those little bugs, like a gnat or something. It flew into the whipped cream, and I really like stood there and I thought like, should I remake this? But this woman was like drilling holes into me with her eyes. So I was like, you know what? Ignorance is bliss. And I gave it off to her, and I hope she maybe learned her lesson, maybe got a little extra protein. But moral of the story is be nice to people who make your food.
I want you to know, Connor, if you were listening to this now, during your story when you said Nat, Hermes got up from the couch and looked at me like I had spit in his food. So I want you to know. I won't put the name to the chain, but I'm assuming it's the chain I'm thinking of. As someone who used to be a barista, I know exactly the type of customer you're talking about. And though we were very good about making sure there were no gnats in our area. We did have a couple of birds fly into our shop at a couple of times, but no gnats, no bugs that I'm aware of. But yeah, I know exactly the type of customer you're talking about. And it's just the one where it's like they're just nothing is perfect. Nothing is great. We had this one person who would come in routinely, and every single time we literally had to film ourselves at a certain point making their drink because they always asked for it extra hot. We made it as hot as we possibly could legally to make it in a coffee shop. And they would still claim it wasn't hot enough because they would get whipped cream on top, and that always cooled it off. So we literally had to film ourselves making drinks at a certain point for this one customer because it was always such an issue. But I know exactly the type of guest you're talking about. And yeah, oh God, I get that at a certain point, it's just like, you know what? Ignorance is bliss. They'll be fine with the gnat. And also, side note, as someone who was a Girl Scout and went camping and bike riding and all that stuff, you can eat a bug. You'll live. You'll survive. You'll be fine. One bug won't hurt someone. You're fine. Okay, but yeah, no, Connor. Ignorance is bliss. One gnat won't hurt someone. So you know what? At the very least, I commend you for holding it in. I commend you for just doing your job and getting it done. Because I know in your head you were probably just like, I'm gonna throw a drink at someone. So I commend you on that. Let's do the next listener story. So again, this is from Dave. This is Mike and Oscar's older brother. Hi, Amanda. First, I wanted to say I love your content, and while I've only recently discovered it, I'm becoming a bigger fan of your podcast every time I listen to it. I was introduced to all things Swell by a mutual acquaintance of ours, who also happens to be the main subject of this particular shenanigan, and whose identity I will reveal at the end. This shenanigan is definitely not my proudest moment, but nevertheless, I hope it brings you some entertainment. Years ago, 16 maybe, I was invited on a triple date of sorts, in which myself and my wife, fiance at the time, were invited to hang out with two other couples. One couple was someone I knew from work and her boyfriend. The third couple consisted of my work friend's sister and my younger brother, who were on a blind date together set up by my mother, who also worked at the same place as my friend and me. Sound awkward? Just wait. My wife and I were not there at the beginning, but I had received a call from my brother asking us to join up with them later that evening at my coworker's house so the six of us could hang. It is at this point in the story that I should mention that I am a bit of a socially awkward person, and back in those days, I tended to not take social cues well. Like, for example, when people said things just to be polite and maybe didn't mean to invite you at the tail end of a blind double date. So when my wife and I get to my coworker's house, no one is there. We waited there for about half an hour and still no one showed up. Wow, you waited a whole half an hour? A normal person would have taken a hint and gone home, but I'm a special kind of stubborn. By now, it was getting close to 10 at night, and my stomach was starting to grumble. Finally, the four of them showed up, my coworker, her boyfriend, my coworker's sister, and of course, my excited yet visibly nervous little brother. We exchanged pleasantries and went into the house, whereupon I proceeded to blurt out, "You guys got any food?" Okay, sorry for the weird gap in that. William, please cut out the coughing fit that just caused in me. I proceeded to blurt out, "You guys got any food?" This was not said quietly. After a very uncomfortable moment for everyone in the room but me, my brother's date, who he had just met that evening, in a gesture of what I now know to have been purely polite and nothing more, held up the food carton containing her leftovers from the evening and said, "I have a half-eaten chicken sandwich in here." A normal person would have said, "No thanks, not okay." A normal person would have given a half-sincere chuckle. A normal person might even have asked where the nearest McDonald's was and said, "I've got to get something in my stomach. Anyone want to come with?" Sadly, to my brother's utter horror, I am not a normal person. I grabbed the box, I ripped it open, and I tore into the half-eaten fried chicken bad boy like a lion on a sick gazelle. It was only after I had finished that I noticed just how silent the room has become. I don't completely remember what else happened between that moment and when my wife and I left. I do know that 1, my brother did not go on another date with that girl. 2, I was not invited on any double dates with my brother for several years after that. And finally, 3, that was a damn good chicken sandwich. As I said in the beginning, I was first alerted to your awesome content through someone we both know. I hope that this story has made you laugh as much as it horrified my sweet baby brother, who now spends his days in cold cold basements and dark theaters, reveling in horror films and scoffing at rom-coms. Did I inadvertently murder his one true shot at happiness when I stuffed down his date's leftovers? Perhaps, perhaps not. Maybe you can ask him the next time you guest on the Mike and Oscar podcast. If you do, and I hope you do, please give them my warmest regards to my baby brother, Mike 1. Sincerely, Dave. So thank you, Dave, for sharing. Wait, so now I'm trying to understand. Okay, sorry. The formatting for emails on Gmail sucks. I will say that. I'm going to have to figure out a better way to do this because the formatting is not conducive to my dyslexia. So hold on. Okay, but see, it sounds like Mike, okay, but I had received a call from my brother asking us to join with them later that evening at my coworker's house so the 6 of us could hang out. Mike, it sounds like you did this to yourself. It sounds like you invited Dave. That's what it sounds like. You know what? I'm on Dave's side. Mike. Sorry. I'm sorry if this was like your one true love. I'm sorry. I'm sure she was wonderful. She seems to have good taste in chicken sandwiches. So I'm sorry, but I am on Dave's side because why would you invite him? If it wasn't actually an invite. Dave, no, it's not you not reading social cues. Mike did something weird here. Mike was like, hey, can you meet up with us later? And then they didn't show up. Like, that's weird. I don't know what's going on there. Mike, I'm blaming you for this interaction. But yeah, no, this is the message I got from Mike. I'm literally driving back. I'm on a 7-hour car ride when I got this text message. So I'm just now learning apparently my older brother emailed you. And I said he did. And he said, unbeknownst to me, yes. He says he sent in last week for Shenanigan. I don't even know he followed your work, but here we are. Says he's a big fan of your pod. I am bewildered by all of this. And then I said, oh, okay, I'll take a look because I hadn't seen the email yet. And he said, he sent the email and said, yes, AOL in 2021, which tells you how technologically out of touch he is, further blowing my mind with all of this. So Mike was really bewildered, Dave, that you had sent in a message, but thank you so much for sending it in. And I like that. I like clowning on Mike. I like clowning on Mike too. I like clowning on both the Mikes because it's just fun. Me and the guys have a similar sense of humor. So whenever I go on their podcast, it's always a fun time going on there. We've had actually Mike 1 on one of the earlier episodes of this podcast. I think it was episode 5. And eventually we will bully Mike 2 onto the podcast as well. Eventually I will have the whole set with me and I will have Mike, and Oscar, and maybe I'll surprise them with Dave. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We have one last listener message to play. This is from Zaire Brown. Okay. And there's no warning on this one. There's no shenanigan. There's no preview. None of that. So let's see.
Hey, Amanda. This is Zaire. Random goober. Just chilling. It's 7 a.m. I haven't gone to sleep yet because I'm trying to prove to myself that I've got what it takes to make this whole side hustle thing I'm trying to do work. One rabbit hole you might want to head down is the world of VR chat. Now, despite what the name might suggest, you don't actually need a VR headset in order to explore it. The culture kind of speaks for itself. It's a very chaotic place. But I feel like that would be right up your alley. So, check it out. And if I'm on the show, hi people. How you doing?
Okay, so I pronounced it wrong. He said Zaire, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Zaire, I need you to do your own podcast or start voicing maybe scary movie or scary stories on YouTube because you've got that good cadence to your voice that is conducive. And I'm assuming because you said it was late night, I'm assuming you're just tired. That this might be the new career path. You said you're working on a side hustle. This might be it. Maybe you are already doing this and I'm just not listening. But the world of VR chat. Okay. So virtual reality chat. I am familiar with that. So I'm more interested in what your side hustle is because you didn't tell us. What's your side hustle? But you made it onto the podcast. So congratulations. Thank you for reading in your message. And thank you to everyone else who submitted their messages and submitted their emails. Like I said, swellshenaniganspodcast@gmail.com if you would like to send in your own written shenanigans. Or you can go ahead and go to the Anchor message on the Anchor website for this podcast and submit a little voice message, and then you'll get it played on one of the listener episodes. Again, that's going to be it for this podcast. Again, check out the emails, check out our Instagram, check out all of our other episodes. If you would like more of me, I put out new episodes on the Swell Entertainment channel every Tuesday, and you get a new podcast episode every Wednesday. If you were listening to this on the audio version only of this podcast, don't forget we have a Swell Shenanigans YouTube channel where you can watch video versions of this podcast and you can see more of my cute face. Ideally when I'm not having a gross, weird cough, but William's going to cut all those out for me. So you don't have to see those. That's it. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.